Discipline is a lie. You've been sold to stay average. Winners don't rely on discipline. They live by law. That's why you keep falling short. You're worshiping the wrong God. Everyone's jerking off to discipline like it's the magic pill to success. It's not. The elite don't hope to be disciplined. They operate by law. Immutable, non-negotiable standards that eliminate excuses. If you're tired of starting over, tired of failing, then burn the altar of discipline and build a throne of law. Discipline is optional. Law is mandatory. That's the cold, hard truth nobody wants to hear because it rips the comfort blanket right off your excuses. You try to be disciplined. You hope to stay on track. You set alarms, read books, and binge motivational videos, hoping to spark enough fire to move. But let me tell you something. Trying is for cowards. Trying is a fancy word for I'll probably quit when it gets hard. And that's why you fail. That's why you keep restarting. That's why your goals collect dust while your doubts collect power. Because you build your life on the shaky ground of optional effort. Discipline is an illusion. It's a trending hashtag, a temporary boost, a feel-good drug. You lean on it when you feel strong, and you abandon it when you feel weak. That's the trap. Discipline relies on feelings. Laws don't. Laws don't wait for your permission. Laws don't ask if you're motivated today. They don't care if you had a rough night, if you're sick, or if you're scared. Laws are non-negotiable. You either comply or you face consequences. That's how winners live. Not by daily battles of willpower, but by a personal constitution, a mental and emotional legal system where failure is illegal and excuses are crimes. When you operate by law, everything changes. It's not about mood swings or fleeting motivation. It's about identity. You become the person who does what needs to be done every damn day. No thinking, no debating, no flinching. You just execute. Like breathing, like blinking. It becomes part of your being. Because when something becomes law, it becomes absolute. It becomes reality. You don't decide to brush your teeth every morning, you just do it. Why? Because that's law. That's the same standard you need to apply to your mission, your habits, your grind. People say that sounds intense. Good, it's supposed to be. You want extraordinary results living by average rules? Get real. You want to dominate life? Then you better bring the energy of a damn war general to your daily routine. Laws demand blood, they demand sacrifice, but they also deliver freedom. The freedom from indecision, the freedom from guilt, the freedom from spinning your wheels in the same pathetic circle. Here's what you need to understand. Discipline may get you started, but law keeps you unstoppable. Discipline fades when life hits hard. Law doesn't blink. Discipline is a tool. Law is a foundation. Discipline is a wish. Law is a command. And when you live by command, you don't hope to win, you guarantee it. So throw away the childish notion that you just need more discipline. That's not your problem. Your problem is that you haven't drawn the line in the sand and said, this is law. I will not cross it. I will not break it. I am it. That's how empires are built. Not with effort, with enforcement. Discipline depends on emotion. Law is beyond emotion. That's the brutal truth no one wants to face. Discipline sounds good on paper. It looks sexy in Instagram quotes. But when life punches you in the mouth, discipline folds like a cheap suit. Why? Because it's rooted in how you feel. And feelings, they're unreliable. They fluctuate. One moment you're on fire, the next you're questioning your purpose. One little setback, one missed opportunity, one negative comment, and your so-called discipline starts negotiating. You start asking, should I still go to the gym? Should I push through this meeting? Should I make the call? And boom, just like that, you're off track. The empire you were building crumbles. because your emotions didn't show up to work that day. You can't build greatness on a foundation that shifts with your moods. That's why law is the only answer. Laws don't care if you're tired. Laws don't care if you're broken. Laws don't bend just because you had a bad night. When you operate by law, your actions are non-negotiable. It's not, I'll try to wake up at 5 a.m. It's I wake up at 5 a.m. Period. It's not, I hope I can stick to my routine. It's this routine is my reality. Rain or shine, tears or triumph. And let me make this clear, law is not about being robotic. It's about being liberated. Because when you live by law, you eliminate debate. You eliminate hesitation. There's no mental energy wasted on whether or not to execute. You just do. That's what separates killers from quitters. The amateur checks in with their feelings before acting. The pro does it regardless. You don't skip oxygen when you're depressed, do you? You don't stop breathing because you're in a funk. That's because your body understands oxygen is non-negotiable. Now, imagine if your goals, your standards, your commitments were treated with the same intensity. That's what law demands. Emotions are valid, but they don't deserve to steer the ship. Your destiny doesn't care if you feel like showing up. Results don't care if you're motivated. Nobody in history built an empire on the days they felt like it. They built it on the days they didn't. That's the muscle you need, the law muscle, the code you follow even when the fire's gone. That's how legacy is forged. So if you're sick of the yo-yo effect of starting strong and fading fast, stop blaming your discipline and start questioning your code. If your execution is tied to emotion, you've already lost. But if it's bound to law, if it's locked in by a code you do not break, you become unstoppable. That's the shift. That's the standard. That's the law. Stop begging for motivation. Stop chasing feelings. Start enforcing law. Discipline is reactive. It's built on triggers, external or internal. You wait for a quote that lights a spark, a podcast that revs your engine, a sunrise that feels just right. You wait for the mood to shift, the energy to rise, the perfect conditions to act. That's why most people fail, because when the trigger doesn't show up, neither do they. They spend their lives waiting for discipline to kick in, as if it's some mythical beast that appears when summoned. But guess what? Real executors don't wait. They don't rely on hype, mood, or momentum. They don't need a playlist or a pump-up speech. They operate on law. Law is proactive. Law doesn't wait. It doesn't ask for your emotional permission. It's written in advance, forged in clarity, and enforced with consequences. When you live by law, you don't ask, do I feel like it today? You declare, this is what I do, period. You don't rise when the moment is right. You rise because the law commands you to rise. There's no negotiation, no bargaining, no last-minute pep talk. Your identity is locked into your law. Your actions are predetermined, not by fate, but by your own damn standards. Discipline is a battle every day. You feel the resistance, the tug-of-war between what you want now and what you said you'd do. And if the wind blows wrong, if the world feels heavy, if the mind gets noisy, discipline crumbles. But law doesn't bend because of your feelings. Law is steel. Law is fireproof. Law doesn't flinch when you're tired. Law doesn't blink when life punches you in the face. It just is. That's power. Most people live reactively. They chase bursts of inspiration. They make decisions in the moment, and that moment is usually weak. That's why they start diets and never finish. That's why they sign up for the gym and ghost it 2 weeks later. That's why they make promises and then rationalize failure like it's noble. Because their discipline is emotional. It needs fuel. It needs reasons. It needs convincing. And when that doesn't show up, they don't either. But living by law, That's proactive leadership of self. It means deciding once and acting forever. It means building a system where your standards are non-negotiable and your habits are identity-driven. It's not about reacting to life, it's about directing life. When you wake up under law, the day belongs to you. You don't ask the universe how you should feel, you tell it what's happening. And what's happening is execution. That's why empires are built on law, not discipline. Discipline is a mood, law is a commandment. Discipline whispers, law roars. Discipline can be swayed, law is enforced. You want next level success? You want unshakable results? Then stop reacting, stop waiting, stop checking in with your feelings. Write your law, live by it, and let the world watch you move with unstoppable force. Discipline feels like war every damn day. You wake up and negotiate with yourself. Should I get up now? Should I work out? Should I eat clean? Every choice becomes a battle, and eventually you lose. That's the curse of discipline. It's a daily grind that wears people down over time. And that's why most people quit. Because they've built their lives on a system that requires them to fight themselves every single day. That's not freedom, that's prison. But when you live by law, there is no decision to make. You already made it once and it became non-negotiable. There's no more internal dialogue. You don't show up, you show up. You don't think, should I skip this because the law won't allow it? It's not pressure, it's peace. It's freedom from your weaker self. You've eliminated the battlefield. You've turned chaos into clarity. Discipline asks you to resist temptation every day. Law removes the temptation entirely. Think about it. Does a judge decide each morning whether or not to uphold the law? Hell no. The law is the law. And once that mindset is locked in, life becomes simpler, faster, more powerful. You don't get stuck in limbo anymore. That's how you gain momentum, and momentum is the currency of greatness. This is what separates the average from the elite. The average person hopes to have a good day, to feel motivated, to be disciplined enough to check the boxes. The elite, they've outlawed inconsistency. They've outlawed weakness. Their habits are law. Missing a workout is not just a mistake, it's a violation. Eating garbage food isn't an indulgence, it's treason. When you live by law, everything changes because your identity changes. Law forces you to level up. It raises the floor of your life so high that falling back down is no longer an option. You don't waste time. You don't doubt yourself. You don't second guess the plan. That's the freedom. You're not chained by fear, laziness, or indecision anymore. You're liberated from the crap that keeps 99% of people mediocre. And the irony? The world preaches discipline as the key to freedom. But discipline still needs willpower. Law removes the need for willpower. It's not about trying harder. It's about deciding once and never revisiting that decision. That's where the real freedom is. In that ruthless clarity. In that zero compromise execution. That's how empires are built. That's how kings rise. Not by waking up every day wondering if they've got the discipline to fight again, but by waking up and executing the law that governs their rise. No emotion, no hesitation. Just power, just progress, just destiny. Written in law. Discipline is for amateurs. It's a stepping stone, not a destination. The people who talk the most about discipline are usually the ones still trying to convince themselves to act. They read books, watch videos, set alarms, and journal about their goals. But when it's go time, they hesitate. Why? Because they're still relying on motivation. They're still waiting to feel like it. That's amateur hour. Professionals don't waste energy on that mental tug of war. They don't try to be disciplined, they live by law. They've written their code. It's not a suggestion, it's not a reminder on a whiteboard, it's a non-negotiable contract with themselves. When their feet hit the floor in the morning, execution isn't a question, it's a default. It's what must happen, period. World-class operators don't leave their success up to chance. You think Navy SEALs wake up and decide whether or not they'll run a mission? You think high-level CEOs hit the snooze button because they're not feeling it today? No. That level of performance is built on a law of unshakable standards. It's the law of self-leadership. You either enforce it or you suffer the consequences. There's no mercy for weakness at the top. Discipline works until it doesn't, until life punches you in the mouth, until your motivation tanks, until comfort whispers in your ear, "Take it easy today." That's when amateurs fold. But killers don't negotiate with weakness. They don't need to feel inspired. They live under law. It's already decided. They already chose the pain, the sacrifice, the pressure. That's the edge. That's the difference between chasing results and owning them. If you want freedom, you want greatness, then stop chasing discipline like it's a daily lottery ticket. Burn the idea that you'll magically feel ready. Instead, install law. Codify your standards. Make it criminal to skip. Make it unforgivable to slack. When law runs your life, execution becomes a lifestyle, not a struggle. You don't rise to the occasion, you rise to your standard. And your standard becomes your identity. That's the mindset of a killer. That's the mentality of someone who wins before the fight even begins. Discipline got you started, good. But if you want to finish the race, if you want to dominate your game, you need something stronger. You need law. Because when life hits hard, and it will, only law holds the line. Amateurs hope, killers enforce, so stop praying for discipline. Write your law, live it, breathe it, enforce it, and never look back. Discipline fails, law forges destiny. That's not just a catchy phrase, it's a cold, hard truth. Discipline is something you try to summon. It's a feeling. It's an emotion. And the problem with emotions, they shift like the wind. One day you feel unstoppable. The next you're lying in bed convincing yourself you'll start tomorrow. That's the failure of discipline. It negotiates, it argues, it entertains weakness. But law doesn't give a damn how you feel. Law doesn't bend. Law doesn't ask for your permission. It's iron, it's steel, it's absolute. And that's where real power begins. Every time you break discipline, you crack the dam just a little more. Your mind rushes to justify it. It's just one day. I deserve a break. Been good lately. That's the trap. Your brain, left unchecked, is a professional con artist. It will sell you mediocrity in the language of self-care and make you feel good about being weak. But when you break a law, a personal non-negotiable law, something different happens. There's no comfort. There's no wiggle room. There's pain. There's shame. There's real consequence. Why? Because you made the law. You committed to something greater than a passing feeling. You declared, this is who I am. And when you violate that, you violate your identity. See, that's the game most people never play. They live in a sandbox of optional effort, trying to hold themselves together with bubblegum and pep talks. But the killers, the kings, the legends, they write laws in their soul. They build systems. They don't wait to feel motivated because they built a reality where motivation isn't required. That's why the most powerful people in the world are often the most predictable. You know what they'll do because they know what they'll do. It's already decided. It's law. Success becomes inevitable when failure is not allowed to survive. You choke it out, you starve it, you kill it with structure. And structure comes from law, not discipline. Discipline might get you to the gym on a good day. Law means you show up when you're sick, when you're broken, when no one's watching. Discipline might get you to open your laptop. Law means you finish the damn project when it's 3 a.m. and your eyes are bleeding because your standards say we don't quit. When you start living by law, you stop seeking permission. You stop explaining. You stop pausing every 5 minutes to check in with your feelings. You become inevitable. And when you're inevitable, your destiny isn't something you chase, It's something you build. Brick by brick, action by action, unshakable. That's why discipline fails, because it's human, it's flawed. But law, your law, is divine. You create it, you enforce it, and it builds the version of you the world can't ignore. Want to change your life? Stop hoping for more discipline. Start building law and live by it like your life depends on it, because it does. So stop waiting to feel discipline. That's why you're stuck. Decide who the hell you are. Write the law. Etch it in your soul and live by it like your legacy depends on it, because it does. Discipline is weak. Law is power. Now go build your empire. If this hit you in the gut like this video, subscribe and comment. I live by law because kings don't follow trends. They follow truth. And truth is law.